welcome to a special interview episode of Popcorn Podcast with Lee and Tim, where we're talking to the director of Anyone But You, Will Gluck.
I'm Timmy Fland, movie buff.
And I'm Lee Livingstone, entertainment journalist.
And we love to talk all things movies. Now, in romantic comedy, Anyone But You, Bea and Ben look like the perfect couple. But after an amazing first date, something happens that turns their fiery hot attraction ice cold. When they find themselves attending the same destination wedding in Australia, they do what any two mature adults would do and pretend to be a couple to make the objects of their affections jealous.
Could you be any more Australian there? In Australia.
In Australia, just slap on the Vegemite, mate.
Anyone But You is directed by Will Gluck from a screenplay by Ilana Walpert and Gluck.
The film stars Sydney, Sweeney, Glen, Powell, Alexandra Shipp, Guitar, Hadley Robinson, Michelle Hurd, Dermot Mulroney, Brian Brown and Rachel Griffiths.
Now, Tim, writer and director and producer Will Gluck is no stranger to the rom-com genre, having brought us Easy A, starring Emma Stone, and Friends with Benefits with Mila Kunis and Justin Timberlake.
Now, having departed the genre for a while to direct family films such as a modern remake of the classic musical Annie that starred Cameron Diaz and Peter Rabbit and Peter Rabbit 2, The Runaway, Gluck is back writing and directing the pairing of arguably the hottest stars right now with Anyone But You.
Really? I hadn't heard that.
They're so hot.
So hot right now. That's right. He's brought together Hollywood it girl Sydney Sweeney of Euphoria and the White Lotus fame and Top Gun Maverick heartthrob Glen Powell in this raunchy, hilarious will they, won't they romp set against the gorgeous backdrop of our very own hometown, Sydney, Australia.
Represent, waving that flag proudly. We were fortunate enough to sit down with Will Gluck to discuss his film and got the inside scoop on the production.
That's right. In our chat, Gluck shares the new spin he put on the genre to set it apart, his fondness for Sydney, Australia, and why he chose to make the film here, and what it's like filming in the shark-infested waters of Sydney Harbour, because there really are sharks in there.
Yeah, it's not a very safe place to go swimming, ladies and gentlemen.
And he also reveals the truth behind a certain naked outdoor shower scene. If you know, you know. All this and more. Let's take a listen.
Hey, I'm Ben. I was for a hall pass on your brig.
Wow, you are a child.
It's a pretty long flight. Do you want anything from the front of the boat?
I'm all good on creatine and small dick insecurity.
Nothing small about me. What the?
Hey, Will, it's great to meet you.
And you, how are you doing?
Oh, I love your backdrop. Very apropos for your film.
Yes.
There it is, the coat hanger. She's gorgeous. Now, you're no stranger to the rom-com genre, having directed Easy A, which is a personal favorite of mine, and also Friends with Benefits. How did you put a new spin on this one and subvert the conventions of the romantic comedy?
I just think we tried to make it as current as possible. And also we wanted to really make it as adult. And by that, I mean what you really talk about as adults and not try to sugarcoat anything. Also, because this might be the last romantic comedy ever in a movie theater, if people stop going to movie theaters, we tried to make it as cinematic and big as we possibly could. You know, a lot of times romantic comedies, they don't care so much about what's going on. It's all about just the two. But we really spent a lot of time filming it like it was a, David Attenborough nature series in Australia, in addition to our two lovely cast members. And we had a great time putting Australia up on the screen.
Now, this film is like your love letter to Sydney. What do you love about Australia and Sydney so much?
Well, it's a little personal for me because when I came and did a movie down there beforehand, my family came down with me and all went to school down there. And my family just absolutely loved it. And the people were just so nice and kind of welcomed the two American girls into their school, which would not happen in the United States, I tell you that. And they just fell in love with it, and wife did, and I did. So any excuse I can possibly have to come back there and bring them back there, I try to take advantage of. That's why I put the movie in Sydney, so we can come back there.
That's really beautiful to hear, especially the sort of family sentiment that you felt with your girls. I'm from Sydney. I'll actually be driving over the Harbour Bridge just after this interview, actually.
Nice.
So
Nice.
This feels quite cool.
Where are you in North Sydney now?
I'm in the inner west.
You're in the oh, you're going the other way. You're going out. Okay, got it. Yeah.
Yeah, I especially liked playing Spot the Location in Sydney. I recognized bingo card game in this
Nice.
movie.
Nice.
Your movie is big on location shooting, as you mentioned. What was the experience of filming on Sydney Harbour and the logistics surrounding that, especially at night, no less than in front of the Harbour Bridge and the Opera House? What was that like?
It was crazy. And every time I look at the movie now again and we start editing, I can't believe they let us do all this stuff. I mean, it was freezing cold. It was the middle of the night, 6 nights in a row. We got on that boat. There's no trickery. And Sydney, Sweeney, and Glen Powell got in the water in the middle of probably the biggest shark area, as you well know,
Yes.
between Mrs. McQuarrie's chair and Sydney Opera House. So every time they were in the water, they were surrounded by shark tanks. And even though they knew this was going to happen, when the day it happened, they said, "Are we really jumping into this shark tank?" And they did, and it was crazy to see them do this big scene in the middle of a buoy in the harbor with the lit up Sydney Opera House behind them, with shark tanks around them. And then we had a shark consultant with us, and the shark consultant said, "It's very safe, but the longer you do it, the more it attracts sharks."
Oh,
which is the
God.
opposite of what I thought. I thought that the more you would do it, the sharks would kind of be scared. But as they told me, sharks are afraid of nothing. So why would they see something, they hear some activity, they're like, "Well, what's going on over there?" So as we got to 4 a.m, 5 a.m, and they're in the shark tank, it got to a point when, with the guys like, "We need to wrap this up." So every night that happened.
I'm feeling so uncomfortable just hearing this. I mean, I know that while filming, you lent into some improvisation, but I'm glad that the Grey Nurse Sharks weren't keen on improvising as well.
No, they stayed away.
With your, good. And the Titanic scene, could you simply just not help yourself? I especially liked the nod to the question, would have they both fit on the door, throwing your two on the Bowie? Like,
Yeah.
I just love that you just went for it with that.
Yeah, well, you do it in real life, right? We always make Titanic jokes we always make movie jokes in real life. And for some reason in movies, we don't want to make other movie jokes. So why not, right? And it's been long enough and everyone loves the movie. So Titanic.
It has been long enough. I think you're in safe territory. Now, Sydney Sweeney is the Hollywood it girl right now and continues to show her incredible range as an actress. Why does she make the perfect romantic comedy lead in B?
She's so winning from the very beginning of the movie. Did you see the movie?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, in the very beginning, you just kind of feel for her, and she's out of her element, and she's trying to be tough, but deep down, she's just kind of lost. And that's what makes it really, in my opinion, a really good romantic comedy lead, is if someone who is trying to do the right thing, is completely a mess inside, but just admits it. And with her, she does that. And on the other side is Glen Powell, who presents as all together, but is also just as much of a mess. And they're very modern in that they go about it the way that two adults in real life would go about it, which is being mad at, snipe at each other, jump to conclusions, what we all do in real life. And that's what happened in this movie. And then you kind of see how it plays out. But they're both amazing. And it's just fun to watch them kind of fall in love on the movie.
Well, exactly. I mean, chemistry is crucial between lead actors, especially in a romantic comedy. You have to believe it. And a lot has been said about Glen and Sydney's obvious chemistry. What was that sort of aha moment when you thought, yes, I've got the two leads in here that are right? What was that moment going, yes, this is going to work between them?
So because of everyone's schedules during the rehearsals and the kind of when I was writing this movie, we're all on Zoom or text. So they weren't in the same room. We were never all in the same room. And Sydney flew in the day before we were to film shooting. And we had some camera tests actually in Double Bay, where camera tests go to die. And that after that, we went to just a room to start rehearsing for the first time. And the first time they saw each other. And after literally 20 seconds, I put in my head, I was like, oh my God. And they both said, what's wrong? And I said, I was so nervous this whole time because nothing else matters in a movie except those two. I was so nervous, even though we're doing all the prep and location, none of that matters. And I saw them together and I looked at each other and they saw the kind of electricity with them when they acted. I was very relieved. And then from then on, we just kind of shot like a rocket.
We've talked about the chemistry and it works and how the film plays out, but B and Ben are so mean to each other that anger they both exhibit. Where does that come from in their characters?
Well, I think when you expose yourself and you let yourself be raw and you like someone and you think they like you back, and then you think that if for some reason that they're dismissing you or rejecting you, it turns to meanness and animosity very quickly, because animosity is just love in the opposite way. So if you really don't care about someone, you would never be mean. if you don't care about somebody or something, you just kind of brush it off. But if someone emotionally hits you deep, that's when you really get mean. So every time we see them kind of fall in love in the beginning, and we see what happens after that. So every time they're kind of sniping or mean to each other, we know it's just two people who are covering something. You just want to shake them and say, stop it. You guys like each other. Just stop it. But, animosity and love is it's a fine line.
Which is what everyone around them was doing. They were both basically shaking them like rag dolls, going, just sort it out. You're meant to be. Right. Unwritten by Natasha Bedingfield is an absolute banger of a song, which you use throughout the movie in surprising ways. Why that song? Do you have a personal connection to it?
No, I have a personal connection to songs that people initially kind of want to dismiss. And then once they kind of sing and you kind of catch them singing in the shower or by themselves, as like you said, they're bangers. And I love when people admit those songs. I love when people just say, I don't care what you think. I think this is a great song. And that was, to me, it's an amazing song that initially, if you don't think about it, you kind of roll your eyes. But the more you sing it with other people, it's fantastic. And that was the perfect song.
I don't know many like lyrics end to end of songs, but I know every single word to Unwritten. It's one of those unashamed shower songs, but also in public songs for me. It just does something. So I loved when it showed up in your movie. In wrapping up, Will, thank you so much for speaking with me today. The Anteater, how did this manifest?
The Anteater, how did that manifest? I will tell you, you get the scoop. It's a prosthetic.
Oh, okay. I'm kind of like relieved and disappointed in the same breath.
Yes. And the editors didn't even realize it, but it's a prosthetic. And it manifested itself because unless you have an actor as game as Joe Davidson, local Australian fellow, that scene could have gone either way, but it comes with such glee and happiness and no shame and openness with their body that I just wanted his openness to go against Glen's tightness. And there's nothing quite more open than just showing yourself to the guy you just met.
It worked perfectly. I got a good kick out of that one. Thank you, Will. Really appreciate it. Take care.
Cheers. Thanks.
Titanic me.
Are they watching?
Are they doing Titanic?
They're gone. Show's over.
Oh my God. Lee, do you agree that Natasha Bedingfield's Unwritten is an absolute banger?
Yes, and he seems to have a thing for her music because he used Pocket Full of Sunshine in Easy A. Remember that scene with Emma Stone in the shower and she's like singing along to it and she's got that birthday card she keeps opening and closing and then she gets sick of it?
Oh my gosh, of course. He's keeping the lights on for Natasha Bedingfield across his filmography. I love that little fact. Well, Gluck offered so much behind-the-scenes insights into a film that really serves as basically a tourism ad for Sydney. You have the two Sydneys really shining in this one.
Go Sydney and Sydney.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed this special interview episode of Popcorn Podcast. We also took to the red carpet at the Sydney premiere of Anyone But You, and you can see all that action over on our YouTube channel, so please check it out.
Anyone But You is in Australian cinemas from December 26, or Boxing Day as it's affectionately known here down under. As always, friends, thank you so much for listening.
We'll catch you next time. We are now on YouTube, guys, where you will find our latest celebrity video interviews. Simply search Popcorn Podcast with Lee and Tim and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single one.